This is this video is really being done on the fly. And it's just like I feel like I got a vent for this kind of like small review, letting my mind go. Um, while browsing Netflix, I saw a movie called A Whisker Away, animated movie. Um, when I saw the theme, like the description of it, and the art style, it's got like the anime art style. Even you could say to a certain degree, it seems like it's inspired by Studio Ghibli type stuff. Not as detailed with the art style, but with like I'm trying to think what it's got like the essence of Howl's Moving Castle with like how had an obsession with the girl. It's got the cat returns because it's cat themed and everything, and like I was really hyped for this, and I started watching it tonight, and I'll show you. Here, that's my TV. 25 minutes and 20 seconds in. I paused it at around 14 minutes, and I was already like struggling with the movie, and but I kept on for another 10 minutes up to this point. But this is where I'm starting to draw the line. Like I'm just gonna, like this movie isn't worth watching, and it's not that it's utter shit. It's that one general aspect of this film just puts you off it completely. The idea of a girl who likes a boy, and gets if you've ever seen in Japan the masks, different masks that they wear, she gets like a half cat mask that covers up the top of her face from what is essentially a cat yokai. Yokai is like a spirit. Um, and it lets her transform into a cat. And she's been visiting the boy that she likes as a cat. And as a human, he ignores her completely, wants nothing to do with her. But as a cat, he's really loving and caring. So you see this different personality in the boy. And as a cat, this movie is really interesting. Every time she's a cat, every time she's going just walking around interacting with him and shit, it's like you can get a real sense of the positive side of this movie. The whole transformation with the mask thing is interesting. The dynamic of her mother living somewhere else because her parents are divorced. She lives with her father, and she's got kind of like a stepmom thing happening, and she's being distant from her father and stepmom because she doesn't want to warm up to the stepmom and everything. That's interesting. The one thing that is so hard to watch, and why I pause this movie and making this video, is the main female character that we're watching that can transform into the cat. It's her in a human form. Her in a human form is fucking annoying and creepy because she's not just. It's even hard to say she's in love with this boy. It's more that she like obsessive, obsessive stalker love. That's what it is. Like the way it's even displayed on screen whenever he talk, like at the beginning, oh talk, I want to record your voice so I can play it over and over, and I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with this chick? Whenever he talks, it's like everyone else is supposedly a scarecrow, like they actually animate it like they're scarecrows, and he's the only one that fucking exists. She does this thing where she wants to run up to him and slam her butt into him. And then she just did this thing. She's at school, and two boys were talking shit about him, about how his grades are improved and how he might have cheated. She jumps off a 2-story roof and she's like, well, shit, that actually hurt more than. Because I can do that as a cat. And I'm like, what human? Like, yeah, you can transform into a cat and cats land on their feet. But didn't you stop to think, shit, I'm on a 2-story building, I'm human, this isn't smart? Like, everything she does in her human form is dragging this movie that has great potential, but every single time she's in a human form, it's like you're taking a great piece of artwork film and you're just dragging it through the fucking mud. You're This main character in her human form is saying how badly she can fuck up this film by being the most annoying, obsessive stalker possible. And I think that's why I've paused it and made this video, because it's like you need a break from this movie every time she's in a human form to continue watching. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna pause this recording and hopefully it stays paused, and I'm gonna continue watching the movie and hopefully it gets better. Like, in order to make it better, I honestly think the rest of the movie, the majority of the movie, it goes for an hour and 20 minutes, and it's at 25 minutes. I'd say a good next 45 minutes, just have her be a fucking cat. And then have her change back and deal with her parents and shit at the end. Because if every 10 minutes she's switching back to human, I'm just like, nah. So see you soon. I'm pausing it. I'm really struggling with this movie. Got up to 41 minutes, and she decides to write a love letter to this guy. There's a different way to get her feelings across, instead of being, directly out there and always like screaming at him or bumping into him. It's more subtle, and I, for one, understand that, and it's actually part of Japanese culture to be more private with like letters and that, confessions of love. The problem with this scene, and it was giving me, I understand the fact that you get bullies at school who will like take the letter, read it out loud, because they're just absolute assholes. Teenagers being absolute assholes. So he reads the letter, and it's very personal. It's her feelings. She just wants him to smile, brighten his day. But then we see something that I think's really out of character for the main male character, because he gets the letter back, and like he takes the letter off the bully, and throughout the time he's like, "Oh, don't read it, don't read it," but the bully keeps on going, so he gets the letter back. But when he does, he doesn't go off at the bully for being an idiot. He goes off at her because she's pushy, because she's able to get her emotions across, even if they're subtle through a private letter. He blames her for the bully reading the letter, and in what is perhaps the worst way to handle the situation, he doesn't say, "I'm not interested in you, I don't want to date you, I'm not in love with you, I can't return the feelings." He doesn't say any of that. He specifically says, "I hate you." And the weird thing is, like, you see her mentally break down. I actually felt sorry for her at this point. I'm like, dude, girl confesses to you, even if you don't return the feelings, you can handle the situation a bit better than "I hate you." And it's just me struggling with the writing decisions. Like, the more and more I watch this movie, I've just realized, like, this isn't a Studio Ghibli movie. This isn't a well written relationship movie. This is very weirdly paced. Is it pacing? It's not pacing. The pacing's alright. It's more that the characters have really. She started off as just annoying, and then he's having an out of character moment that doesn't seem like it's justified, but it's like he had to say it in order for what I'm guessing is going to happen is she's going to lose her mind and perhaps become a cat permanently by giving up her human form because she feels she can be closer to him as a cat. And I'm just like, the I hate you felt really forced. At first, I thought, you know what, this whole bully shit reading the letter, it didn't, because in Australia, and I guess when I was in high school, I never saw anything like that, so I was just like, meh. But then I'm like, bullying happens, so it's a possibility. But yeah, the out of character moment for the male character, that's gotten on my nerves. And I can see where the plot's become really predictive at this point. Like, you know what's gonna happen. Um, and in terms of that, she's a real bitch to her stepmom, and I get that relationships with parents, with your parents, new love interest or whatever, can be hard to get along with, but that honestly comes down to the maturity of, at this point, the teenager or just the child in general. It comes down to the maturity. So it shows if you're an immature bitch, then the relationship's going to be strained, but you're going to get blamed for it because you're the immature bitch. I'm going to pause it again and. God. I want this to deliver. I want this movie to deliver, but I've really lowered my expectations over these 40 minutes. Hang on. This is literally 1 minute after I just paused it. She's had a mental breakdown because he says, I hate you. And it cuts to a roof scene where she's sitting there with her friend, and her friend is the one crying her tears out. And her friend's like, you gotta end this shit with the boy. You can't be obsessed with him anymore. And she goes, I can't do that. I can't do that. You just had a mental breakdown, and the boy that you are interested in said, I hate you. And you're like, no, I can't give up on him. This movie is pissing me off. So the movie's continuing with the most predictable outcome is, with her having the mental breakdown, she says to the Yukai spirit, maybe I should just stay a cat forever. And instead of the cat mask falling off, she creates a human mask, and he takes the human mask, and he's like, "You're gonna turn permanently into a cat. The only way um, to have the human appearance again is to get the mask before you're fully transformed into a cat." But he takes off with the mask. Knew that was coming because I've just studied and watched a lot of film with yokai type spirits. They're tricksters mainly, very manipulative of humans. So that I saw that coming. The main part I want to get at over the next 15 minutes that I've watched is I really had to think on this. I really sat down and had to think on this. I think the main reason I'm having a hard time either understanding the writing of this movie or the emotions. I still stand by it's weird how he just said I hate you randomly. It still does seem out of character. But the rest and her love obsession with him is on stalker level. It's very unhealthy. Um but over the 15 minutes it's explored a bit more of her family, as you know, she's gone missing. She leaves the house in front of her parents and disappears into her cat form. They think she's missing. They come to the school. They tell the principal, who brings two friends in. It's like, have you seen her? All this good stuff, typical stuff that's gonna happen if their daughter goes missing. And they sneak out. The two students from school sneak out to look for her. Blah blah blah. Um, and we got a bit of a flashback uh, of when she was a child, when her mum did leave, and the feelings and everything. And this was the reason I can acknowledge that I'm having trouble following this type of shit. It's, in a weird way, it made me think I wouldn't be that good a father if I was to have kids, because I feel like at 34 years old, I'm the type of person, especially with how my mind works. I analyze everything, I see everything logically. Even to my friends, at times I come across as unempathetic. Like, sometimes I don't care about people's feelings as long as I'm honest with them, even if it hurts their feelings. In the past, when I was younger, um, you say white lies and stuff to keep people happy. Um, but I went through a part of my life in my 20s to about the time I turned 30 where I just got fed up with everyone's bullshit. From a girlfriend who ended up cheating on me, um, to when my mum passed away, and I thought I had lots of friends, but barely any were there for any type of support. When she did pass away, only, like, when you think you got like 40 friends, but only about 4 or 5 are actually there for you when something really bad happens, and the rest of them use the excuse, oh, we thought you need time to yourself. It's just, it's that transformation over the, guaranteed over the last 4 years, I've lost a lot of the ability to give a shit about people's feelings. I really don't care. Um, it's why I probably struggle uh, to go into a relationship at this point. But that's it. I'm following the movie, and I'm just like, these are teenagers. One with a unhealthy stalker crush, and a boy who has trouble voicing his real feelings. It's like it's all pent up in him. And from my perspective, at my age, she took a logical route in giving him the letter, but he kind of fucked it all up. But the way she interprets his feelings as a cat, it's like, in order for the plot to happen, for her to well, have her cat form in a permanent state, because that's how the plot is written, she makes literally, I would, from my perspective, it's stupid mistakes because it's not logical. But due to her emotional breakdown and her going nuts, and I'm just like, this is the one thing I was reminded from this part of the movie. Was those 2 times in my life where my girlfriend cheated on me and she tried to blame me for it happening, despite the fact she was drunk and what she did was just stupid. I know how I felt after that. I was in such a bad state that one of my closest friends, um, I live in Sydney, big city in Australia. He took me out to a country city in the same state where his girlfriend's family lived, and I stayed with them for a week. He knew I needed to get shit off my back. Um, and after my mom died, I lied to everybody. I put on one hell of a mask. I, I'm actually really good at lying for someone who doesn't like lying and bullshitting. At the time, after my mum died for like 6, 7 months, I lied to everyone and everyone believed it because I was suicidal. I was planning this, the most easiest suicide possible. And by the time I'd fully planned out the easiest one, a gun range, pretend to be trained with a gun, and then turn the gun into my mouth and blow a friggin' skull out. I took myself to a hospital for depression, anxiety, and everything for 2 weeks. That's what this movie has me contemplating at this point. Is like, at this point in my life, I'm extremely logical and analytical, unempathetic, but it made me pause at this point. It's just like, remember the times in your life when stress got so hard that you broke down in an uncharacteristic way that you usually act. And those were the 2 moments in my life where I was just like, fuck, I did stupid shit that I would never have done. So, despite how the movie started earlier with my hate for this character, and some deep, deep thought on my behalf, I'm willing to watch it out to see. Hopefully, it redeems itself. In the later half, I finished it, and wow, I underestimated this movie. I'm gonna stand by what I said. Uh, Early on, this movie's very hard to get into and watch. If you got the patience, you stick with it. Everything falls into place. You get a nice little twist on a few things, and one part that really struck me is when they're in the spirit world of the cats. There's a character that says something, and if you've been watching this kind of review up till now, he's run away and he's been turned into a cat, and he says, "Me too. I didn't know how to love or be loved." Hang on. My insecurities suffocated me, and I had to escape. I feel like that resonates. That resonated so much with me. Is that really what I've turned into at 34 years old? My own insecurities have turned me into an unempathetic, logical person. And I'm scared to open myself up to someone else or let someone in. Shit. As for the rest of the movie, uh, everything gets summed up. Everything. The family, the boy, masks, the cat who gets her face. Everything works out. I don't even know if I want to rate this movie out of 10. I'm not sure where I'll put it. It's good by the end, but it's just the beginning. But I'm surprised by how hard this movie hit me by the end. I'm just looking at my Studio Ghibli movies over in the corner, and although I own Wolf Children, I was not happy with the end of Wolf Children. It was a movie that started off so well, even halfway through, it's so good, and the ending pissed me off. And yet, this movie, A Whisker Away, started off pissing me off, but it finished so good. That's why I don't know how to rate it. Do I suggest you watch it? I really think you should give it a go. At least one watch. And if you really dive into the emotional aspect of this movie, maybe like me, you'll find out something about yourself you never considered or had wanted to admit.